Good morning guys, and welcome to this edition of Cyclopedia. Now, one thing I've come to realise from reading the comments on my videos over the last couple of years is that lots of the places that I've visited in Singapore have a reputation for being haunted. Now, I myself do not believe in ghosts, but I know a lot of people, including my wife, who do, and I fully respect their beliefs. It's totally up to the individual whether they want to believe in spirits and such like, and I'm not going to make fun of you, well, apart from my wife. I'm just the kind of person who has to see something first before they believe in it, and in my 40 odd years on this earth, I'm yet to see a ghost, touch wood. So for today's video, I'm going to visit a few places around Singapore that are reputed to be haunted and examine the ghost and ghost stories connected to them. Then I'm going to try to debunk them with rational explanations for the phenomenon. A sort of devil's advocate for the terrestrial world, if you will. So, let's get going. Now, one of the first places that springs to mind whenever you talk about haunted places in Singapore is old Changi Hospital, which was originally known as the Kitchener Barracks. This place has long been the source of rumours about the spirits of dead patients haunting the hallways late at night. And to be honest, I wouldn't fancy walking around this site on my own at night. Not that you can these days anyway. In fact, it's a classic horror movie setting. An old abandoned building at the top of a hill. It's pretty spooky, and that's why in 2010 there was a horror movie made here called Haunted Changi. Now, there are also lots of stories flying around about how this place was used as a torture chamber by the Japanese during the occupation of Singapore. But according to heritage expert Jerome Lim, quoted in the Straits Times, he said that these blocks were actually only used to house POWs for a very short period during the war, and also that there is absolutely no evidence whatsoever to support the torture stories. And as for the ghost stories, I've actually seen one of the pictures of a supposed ghost online, and to me it looks like it could be absolutely anything. In fact, it looks more like an alien than a ghost, but that's just my opinion. In fact, the skeptic in me can't help thinking it's a bit of a coincidence that stories about this place being haunted only started appearing online around 2009, which was exactly the same time that this location was being used to film the ghost movie that I mentioned before. And I did some web searches, and one article I found online from 2006 about Singapore's most haunted places doesn't even mention Changi Hospital. So make of that what you will. Okay, let's head on to our next haunted spot. Now, the second place I want to talk to you about today is this place that you can see in the background behind me, Matilda House. Now, I originally came across this place while I was researching my recent piece about colonial houses, but because it was so far away from all the other houses on my itinerary that day, I decided to leave it out. But while I was researching this place, I also found out there's a hell of a lot of stories and rumours about this place being haunted. And it's supposedly one of the most haunted places in Singapore. Now, this place was built in 1902 by the Cashin family, a Eurasian family originally from Ireland who made their fortune in Singapore through opium, amongst other things. Named after a family ancestor, it was one of several properties owned by the Cashin family, which include Butterfly House, or 23 Amber Road, and the famous house on stilts at the end of Lim Chu Kang Road. Anyway, on to the scary stories. Apart from some vague tales about old ladies sitting in trees, the main rumour about this place is there's some kind of protecting spirit that prevents it from being torn down. And this has apparently led to the deaths of several construction workers who were supposed to knock this house down a few years ago. Now, the only information I could find online about these apparent construction worker deaths made it sound like a typical construction site accident, but that's just me. From reading up on the history of the house, what I could find out was the whole land in this area was compulsory purchased by the government in 1985, and the Cashin family continued to live in the house until the 1990s, while the house itself was gazetted for conservation in 2000. Meanwhile, members of the Cashin family and their friends, in comments that I've read online, have rubbished the rumours that the place was haunted, because they used to stay here before, and if it was haunted then they would probably know. And considering the house was completely renovated during the construction of this condo, that would potentially mean trouble for any of the construction workers working on that site, although I've yet to find any reports online about incidents or accidents that took place during the construction of a treasure trove. So, is it haunted? Maybe residents of the treasure trove can tell me in the comments if they think so. Okay, let's head off to our next spooky spot. Are you still working? Now, given today's subject matter, do you think it's a strange coincidence that my camera just fell off the end of my tripod while I was riding my bike and it's all smashed up now? I can't believe it's still working, because when I picked it up, the lens zoom part was at 45 degrees to the rest of the lens, and the view screen's smashed a bit, and it's basically not in a good state. But isn't it a bit weird that it should happen today? And what's the speciality here?
So this is actually our new menu. This is probably on the third day you are here.
I've never been here before, so
a few of the specials we have. We got the lamb shank biryani.
Okay.
We got the eggs benedict prata. We got the ultimate power murtabak and the special curry tofu.
I might try this actually.
Okay.
Eggs benedict prata. So I got a mango lassi. Haven't had one of these for years. And coffee C, less sugar, hopefully. Let's see what it's like. This lassi is really going down a tree. Nice and sweet, nice and thick. Not too bad. They actually put the right amount of sugar in for a change. Alright, so I've got an Eggs Benedict Prata. I have no idea what to expect of this dish because the sauce on the egg doesn't look like a traditional Eggs Benedict. It looks like kind of an Indian take on it, and also we've got the plate of curry to go with it. So it's going to be an Eggs Benedict with a difference, that's for sure. Let's give it a try. The egg is poached nicely, and the sauce is different to a normal Eggs Benedict, but overall the experience is pretty good. The egg is nicely poached, and the prata is beautiful. I guess it's turkey ham because I guess this place is halal. But the combination of the prata, the meat and the egg and the curry sauce is interesting. It's nice. Don't get me wrong, I really like it. But whether you could consider it an Eggs Benedict, I don't know. It's kind of weird, but weird in a nice way. Okay guys, I finished lunch. I'm ready for the second half of today's adventure. Now my next spot is here on Old Upper Thompson Road at a corner known as the Devil's Bend. This tricky hairpin bend was once part of the Thompson Road Grand Prix circuit and played host to the original Singapore Grand Prix, although back in those days it was known as the Malaysia Grand Prix because it was pre-independence. Racing took place here from 1961 through to 1973 when the race was cancelled. The official reason being safety concerns after several deaths on the course, with this corner said to be one of the most dangerous. But the deaths didn't end with the cancellation of the race, as for many years it remained a favourite spot for illegal street races. The most recent incident being in 2008 when 2 students were tragically killed when their car went off the road. Such incidents mean that this area now has a reputation for being haunted, probably by the spirits of drivers who perished in crashes. Stories include tales of cabbies picking up fares along this road and the customer ends up paying in the ghost money, the yellow ghost money that you burn, I'm not sure what you call it here in Singapore, and other such supernatural sightings. But for me, I think it's more to do with the fact that it's a secluded country road that is poorly lit at night, which when combined with the deaths around here makes it the perfect location for some spooky stories. Okay, so I'm at the 4th place for today that has a reputation for being haunted, and it's located in the bushes behind me, and it's called the Istana Woodneuk. Now you may or may not have heard of it, but if you want to find out more information about it, then you can look it up online very easily. So you may be wondering why it has a reputation for being haunted. And the stories presumably date from World War II, when the grounds of the Istana Woodneuk and Tyersall Park, as it was called back in the day, were used by the Indian Armed Forces as the 14th Indian General Hospital. Now on the 11th of February 1942, the hospital site was attacked by Japanese bombers, and they used incendiary bombs. and the huts that made up most of the hospital were made of attap like they were in the old days, and they quickly caught fire, burning alive quite a few patients, and lots of them escaped, but they were subsequently strafed by Japanese fighters. Now, it was a pretty gruesome attack, and it's said that a total of around 700 people died during it. Now, for so many people to die in such a horrific way, then this place obviously has some potential for troubled spirits. But honestly, besides those tragic occurrences, there's not much online in the way of ghost stories related to this place that you can even try to verify. But in my opinion, and I have been inside this place in the past, it's just another case of a creepy old building in a dense jungle setting, bringing out people's inner fears. Alright guys, let's head on to the last location for today. Now, my last place for today is here, the National Museum of Singapore. Now, it seems you can't read an article about this place without a mention of its supposed spiritual inhabitant. The story is that the ghost of the former director of the museum, British doctor, naturalist and ornithologist Carl Alexander Gibson Hill, who tragically committed suicide, wanders the halls of the building. Although I'm not too sure why, because according to the reports that I've read online, Gibson Hill actually committed suicide at his home. So I'm kind of curious why his spirit would want to haunt here rather than the place where he passed away. There are also stories about a haunted spiral staircase at the back of the building that is now off limits to the public. But as you can see, this story has a glaring error, so it makes you wonder just exactly how true it is. Still, if you asked me to enter these places at night to film this video, I'd probably have to think twice. And as I said at the start, I'm not trying to rubbish anyone's beliefs, so please don't take umbrage. I'm just trying to provide an alternative explanation for some of these phenomenon. Ultimately, it's up to you what you believe. But that's it for today's video. I hope you've enjoyed my tour around some of Singapore's most haunted. If you have, don't forget to click like, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. And if you want to catch my adventures every Saturday morning, you can always click the bell for notifications. So that's it guys, I'm off home now for a well-deserved rest. But before I go, thanks to all my coffee mates. Still got a few patches left. If you want to get one, get on the website and buy me 3 or 5 coffees and I'll whiz a patch over to you. That's it for today guys. Take it easy and I'll see you next time. Over and out.